territory right now. First thing, on the road for Super Bowl 51. We are joining you from Lucky's Pub downtown in Houston. You hear the chants? Because look who's here. It is such a pleasure to have you. They say arguably the greatest running back of all time. I say the best running back of all time, in my humble opinion. Barry Sanders, a Hall of Famer here with Pepsi. Thank you so much for being with us, sir.
Honor to be here. Thanks for having me.
I just wanted to ask, I mean, how is it for you after all of these years? I mean, because you obviously were incredibly humble, very, very low-key, but everywhere you go, years upon years after you've retired, people talk about your greatness, how great you were as a running back. A lot of people consider you the greatest in history. What does that mean to you?
Well, did you guys import some Lions fans?
Nope.
Are these Lions fans? Or must be some Lions fans around here. No, it feels great because, you know, I'm a lifelong fan of the game and a lifelong fan of running backs. And I was inspired as a kid watching, you know, certain guys play the game at a high level.
Right.
And so for me, it's amazing to have that same sort of effect on fans, that they still remember my career and remember with admiration. And so it's a great privilege for me.
We do. And Barry, I want to talk about the running game right now because it seems like for the last few years, running backs weren't really getting the love. Whether it was in the drafts, it became this pass-happy league. And I feel like now we're seeing a resurrection again, especially with this Atlanta offense. Who do you think is the best running back in the NFL as we speak?
Well, I mean, you'd have to say Elliott certainly put his stamp.
Oh, Stephen A. is going to be rolling over right now.
That surprises me. That surprises me.
Well, I'm saying, you know, Elliott put his stamp on the game. You look at Bell at Pittsburgh, you know, and obviously Peterson was injured. But I think
David Johnson?
You know, Johnson. But, you know, so I think there's still some very solid runners in the game.
You know why the answer of Zeke, who's great, surprised me from you? We had Dan Marino yesterday. There are some guys who, when you strip it all away, the offensive line, the team they're on, the coach, the scheming, receiver, everything else, you say, just who's the best you've seen with your own eyeballs? Forget about Super Bowls and everything. It's a team sport. A lot of people still say Dan Marino, and I think most people say Barry Sanders. So to hear you talk about another Dallas running back, because you were contemporaries with Emmitt Smith, who benefited from that Dallas O-line, is surprising to me. I thought you would go with someone who didn't have that kind of O-line.
Well, I don't think having a great offensive line takes away from his greatness. You know, and being a rookie, and you see what he did when he had the ball in his hands. Even aside from having a great line, you know, the yards after contact. You see him, you know, breaking long runs. You know, he's not getting caught by defenders, and so, you know, he really put his stamp on the game. You know, the best. He certainly deserves to be in that conversation.
I don't feel like talking about the Cowboys. I really don't. Yeah, I mean, in all seriousness,
such a hater.
We'll see what they do now that everybody sees them coming. But here's the deal. Looking at this Super Bowl, how important is the running game going to be to deciding who's going to win this game? We imagine that it's going to be pivotal because of Devontae Freeman and Tevin Coleman in Atlanta. What are your thoughts about what role the running game is going to play in deciding this Super Bowl champion?
My opinion is it'll be different for each team. You look at what Blunt did sort of in carrying the Patriots the first part of the season while Brady was out. And even he's had some solid games even since then, obviously. And Freeman, who can hurt you in the running game, but also as a receiver. I think it could figure very much into who wins the game. But I think you may give the slight advantage to Atlanta as far as that.
Do you think Atlanta's going to win the game?
If I had to choose one, I'm going with the Birds.
How come?
I think you take youth, you take hunger, you take potent offense, solid defense, and you know the other team has enough rings. You know, not that really matters to anybody, but I just think they have momentum on their side, and so like I said, you can only pick one, so I'll pick the Birds.
You think Matthew Stafford will be able to take, changing subjects a little bit right now, your old team to where you weren't able to get? You think he can take them to a Super Bowl one day, and how soon?
Well, Matt had a great year last year. He had a great year last year. And, considering everything that happened with the team, that's our hope. I certainly think he has the skill set to do that. We'd like to probably be a little more balanced on offense, and that was probably one of our issues. But all in all, looking at sort of, how sort of the whirlwind that last year was, we at first we were at the bottom of the barrel. Then we, at the middle of the season, ended up being, first in the division. And kind of fizzled out at the end. But
see, I'm still expecting you to announce a comeback. For people of a certain age, got kids, I don't know if you know, but when Barry Sanders announced his retirement at 30, we were like, no way. He's the best. He ain't retiring. I still don't believe you're retired. Like,
Left on a high note.
Yeah.
Well, you know why I believe it? Because Calvin Johnson just retired, too, prior to last season. So I've wondered, even though you retired and you stuck to it and never came back, did you find yourself last year wishing and wondering, hoping that somebody would go to Calvin Johnson and convince him to come back?
I think a lot of us fans were hoping, that one of those games, 81, just showed up in the stadium. We could have used him at the end of the year. That's I'm again, I think that looking at the fact that we did lose Calvin and the way we bounced back, I believe we do deserve a tip of the hat. That's not going to mean much going forward. We're going to have to beat the Packers. We know that. That's and obviously looking at how the Vikings played last year as well.
First part of the season, not the second.
Yeah,
that's true.
Yep.
Yeah, that's true. But we have our work cut out for us. And Calvin's gone. Number 20. I haven't been there for almost 20 years.
Right.
And so, but I think Coach Caldwell he'll figure it out.
Well, look at it this way: you ain't got to worry about 2 teams in the division, not 3. As long as Jay Cutler's in Chicago, you have nothing to worry about.
Gratuitous. Certainly a tough division, though. It's the Hall of Famer Barry Sanders here with Pepsi. Give it up for him. Thank you so much for being with us. We so appreciate you.